tour of the Kingdom section. That's the part that I curated. I'm also the founder of C Henny. I don't know if you guys follow that on Instagram, but it holds a lot of the databases of our chieftaincy. Yes. So the theme of the museum is unity and diversity. So think about all of the different beliefs, different religions, different regions, different cultures are coming together to unite as one. And so we go through 4 different structures: the beginning, states, kingdoms, and nations. And through all that, we're able to unify Ghana as it is today. So within the museum, we've been able to uphold a lot of the golden elements and golden statues within what I see right now, which are very small figurines. There's also an echo. As we know about the Kente cloth and the history of Kente, we have the Anasi spider. So we've been able to really embody the spider within the space. So we already know, like, 2 travelers went around and saw a spider weaving a design, which inspired the Kente. So I feel like there's so many different perspectives because, the Ashanti will say, okay, we saw it with the R2 Ashanti people. The people from the Volta region will say, oh no, the Volta region started the Kente. People from the Central region will say, oh no, we started this Kente. But literally every Kente in each different region are different. But we would not really know where the true history or the true people were from. But hopefully they're from Ashanti and also the Volta as well. So when we think about Ghanaian citizens, we think about the stool. And the Kofa Noche really descending the golden stool from the heavens. So we have the stool here. And truly the stool is the soul of the Ashanti kingdom, the soul of the Ashanti region. But then you'll also see other stools that are being represented in other regions. So like I said, our theme is unity and diversity. So we think about the Adinkra symbol where they have the 2 crocodiles coming together to unite, which is literally what the stool is. So we'll be able to present it in a higher power just to showcase the honor, the theme of the exhibition, and also the kingdoms. So as we know about the golden stool, we know that literally, it literally settles on the lap of the first Asante. And so as you can see, the stool can never touch the ground, because since it came from the heavens, it has its own power that is even higher and even more powerful and even literally more divine than its own king. And so as you can see, it has its own throne. So whenever you go to the Ashanti region, they always have different ceremonies. They always have the golden stool sitting right next to it in its own presence. Even the golden stool has its own umbrella as well. Wow. So this is where we'll come to my favorite part. So we have the display of the Queen Mother and also the King. So we're thinking about all the different ethnic groups. So we have the Akans. So you can see the Akans being in the Ashanti region, some in the Volta region, some in the Central region, here in Greater Accra, and also the surrounding Ghanaian
regions.
Surrounding Ghana as well, within Ivory Coast, Guinea, Togo as well. So within the Akans, you have some of the regalias that are very common in different regions. So you have the sandal that has the golden emblem, the anklet, the kente as well, the bracelets, the necklace, the crown. As you can see, the crown is made out of a very velvet material with the golden emblems. But if you go to the eastern region, they actually have a golden crown. And then you'll also see the throne that is sitting on. As we can say, the king is much higher than the everyday person, so the foot is always elevated. So you wouldn't really see a king speak when he's sitting, touching the ground, because just like the golden stool, he has that presence that you can't, in a way, be the same person as a commoner. So he has his feet elevated. Even when he is standing, his people are holding him very tightly to protect him. So in a way, he's also kind of elevated in that way as well. So you have the picture of Pepe II right here with his entourage. So you have the sword barriers around him, the umbrellas, and also you see him that he's also wearing the sandal, the similar golden regalia, and also the crown. And then you have a king in a palanquin. So there usually be 6 to 8 people holding the palanquin, which allows the chief to be standing, sitting, and also dancing. The importance about the umbrellas that I love so much is that these are actually the umbrellas that I curated. So within doing my master's, I researched on the royal umbrellas. Now a lot of the royal umbrellas that the museum had were very old, so they're not able to open. But because my partnership with them, I was able to display some of my work. The umbrellas are used as a protector, but also people don't actually realize that the umbrellas are actually an identifier. So kind of like how you have like a Google pin to pin where the location is, the umbrellas are also used as a way to showcase where there's thousands of people at a festival, where you have an umbrella being able to say, okay, this is where this chief is from, or you know this is where this king or chief is in this area. And it also it embodies what the chief is as well, within the different symbolism or even the different words that are around the room. For my remaking of the umbrella, because the umbrella was actually a colonial gift from the Dutch in 1704, 1706. And so if you see a lot of the West African trade routes, they all were gifted an umbrella, but they still had that very colonial tie. So I really wanted to really embrace or reimagine what an umbrella could be. So I redesigned it where they're using not just embroidery, but using an applique technique where the fabrics are also sewed onto other fabrics. Because now the umbrellas usually don't have any design underneath. I wanted to create a design that can say that if a chief or king or queen mother is looking on top of, like above them, they're seeing a design that can empower them as well. And while they're also dancing, standing, sitting, the umbrella can also mimic the dance moves or stuff that the chief is doing because of the person that's holding it. The person is very strong. So a lot of times when you go to Kumasi, you see those guys with the really strong muscles. It's because they're holding like a 9 feet umbrella that's very, very heavy. And they're literally like, even if you try to pick this up, you need like 3 or 4 people. Because literally it's made out of bamboo. And right now you might look at it and be like, oh, the bamboo is very flimsy. But no, bamboo is one of the strongest wood. Oh yes. So it's supposed to be a face. So you can kind of see if you look more into it, it's a face. So on top of the umbrella is 2 men. And then on the golden sculpture that I had was 2 faces. So saying that one chief cannot make a decision, you need 2 chiefs to, or you need a community to make a decision. And so mostly kind of thinking about the essence of unity as well. And then the phrase means remarkable presence. So even though, yes, a king can be a remarkable presence, but even the umbrella itself can also proclaim that as well. Yes. So then we have a lot of the photos. So like I said, I'm the founder of C Henny on Instagram. And within C Henny, I've been able to collect over 500 photos of our chieftaincy in Ghana. Literally, only maybe like 5% of those photos are located in Ghana, but majority of them are located outside within universities, museums, and other databases, and even families. So unfortunately, the museum in Ghana itself doesn't really have too many photos. So I was able to print out some of the photos that I had on my archive. And so, which is really sad that we don't actually own any of our photos, but everyone came to Ghana to document everything. And you can also see a lot of times that the Ashanti region was the most documented because they were doing the most events. I won't say they're doing the most events, but they had a lot of events that people were like, we need to come and capture this. We had Google Arts and Culture, even Google Life magazine, being able to say, okay, go have this photographer go and document this event. Even if it was a ceremony for the Santi Henny, they were there documenting. Even if it was a professor doing research, he was documenting this. Or even a missionary, they were documenting what was happening within the region that they were settled in. So you'll see a lot of these photos being documented. And you can see the expression, they're not happy. So usually if you have someone that looks just like you, you're gonna be comfortable taking a photo with them. But as you can see, a lot of their faces is very stern, or even like, it is very sad. It's because they don't know that person. Someone's just invading their space and kind of forcing them to take a photo. And so then we have the connection with this photo, which is a Queen Mother in the central region, to this Queen Mother presented. So it's another smaller version of one of my umbrellas that I made. So I don't know if you guys know like the Mokia or Pia sign. Yes. So usually means powered onto you or power to you. So a chief or a Queen Mother or king will say that to his people. But it's also very common for the community to also use the same hand gesture to the king or to the queen. So you can see the similarities. And yes, even though yes, her feet are very close to the ground, she still has a divider that usually the skin of the animal to kind of give that division. Even if you think about the term Sihini, it means installment. Within a lot of the regions, especially in the Ashanti region, it's called, you install a king, you install a queen. But in the north, you do inskinment. So they're using the skin of an animal to install and skin their king. So you can use your phone to do all the QR codes. The QR code will take you to somebody's website, and it'll show a deeper, more written description of the information that I see. So then we have the traditional Ashanti buildings and houses. So actually in the Ashanti region, there are, I believe, 10 to 17 preserved buildings that are still being able to be usable, but also being preserved very well. Sadly enough, a lot of our buildings, even in Greater Accra, that were used centuries ago, are really being broken down or reused in the wrong way, or just torn apart because people are losing the value and acknowledgement of why these buildings are so important, or even why the towns are so important. But people even say, if you go within the Greater Accra region, and you see, even if it's in Jamestown, the lineage from the Osu Castle to some of the houses and some of the streets are all linked together. But people don't really realize that, because all they're thinking about is maybe the Osu Castle and that's it, or go to Cape Coast and go to those castles and that's it. But there's literally so much history literally embedded into the cities that you're living in now. So this is an archival image of the traditional house back then. So a lot of times they have Adinkra symbols embedded into their houses within the red clay that they're using. And also these houses are not also used as shrines. So sometimes within the ceremonies or festivals, they'll do a libation where they're able to give back to the ancestors or give honor to the ancestors during that time. Here we have a traditional Kente loom. So during the opening last Friday, we actually had a traditional weaver being able to weave Kente. Actually, weaving Kente is really just men weaving it. But in the Volta region, there's some women that are weaving Kente, but it's very known for only men to weave it. Even the umbrellas, only men are known to make the umbrellas. And usually it's from your family, so usually the grandfather to the father and the father to the son. And you can also see the different types of designs coming from each region. So within the Ashanti culture, you see a lot of green, bright colors, very vibrant colors and shapes. But in the Volta region, you're able to see a lot of symbolism from farming and vegetation embodied in their weaving techniques. And then in the north, you see more lines and just more just linear lines in their designs.
So which region is this?
So I think for this one, I believe he was from the Ashanti region, but they just wanted to use a different color. Yeah. So here's a display of a northern chief. So you can see that he's not really wearing any gold like the Ashanti chiefs are. In the back, you can see the inscription of what he's sitting on, where he's not really he's not sitting on a throne, but he's sitting on the skin of an animal. You can see that he's wearing more like a smock or a batikari, so which is usually known as the battle cloth. But you'll see a lot of their outfits being very circular because of the movement that they're doing through their dances. And even the type of shoes are also helping them being able to mix with those dancers as well. Even though the batikari or the smock has been known as now a common cloth to be worn on a day, you even see the president wearing it regularly, but it's very known for its work. Yes. And then usually for the hats or the crowns, they don't really actually wear a crown, but their hat is literally the crown for them. And it's not really about the gold that is used. They're more about the length, how tall it is. Sometimes it can be this short or even be longer than that. Within my research with Sihini, I've been able to attend a lot of chieftaincy meetings and being able to see a lot of the northern chiefs and how they're dressed. It was very remarkable because this might be a very normal size, but sometimes there has to be longer than this. So here you have some of the traditional northern houses. And actually, I was on a tour with someone from North Nigeria, and they said they also have similar houses being created and constructed like this. Then you have photos of Nana Okriata. So he's one of my favorites, only because he was the only king who was actually been able to actually have a portraits at the National Portrait Gallery in the UK. Historically, he has done a lot for the Ghana and the UK because he acted as like an ambassador, like a minister for Ghana. Even with his family is within the political side, there's a lot of history within that as well. But within the chief, he's been able to work with a lot of different factories, within like chocolate factories, shipping factories, be able to have a collaboration with Ghana's infrastructure as well. So he holds a lot of power within that and what he did in his family. Actually, his granddaughter is actually my curator and also mentor, Nana Opiata Ayem. So she's really been an impact and influential person on how do we hold and preserve our culture within museums. And so she's a little bit known within that aspect of academia, where she's literally going to TED Talks, going to universities, writing books, presenting Ghana in a way that the Western eye can't ever present Ghana in. And so we're hoping to work with her more so that we can see how do we present our culture, not just in a European, Western way, but how do we present it that our people can connect with it. So then we have a chief in the Volta region who was a mechanic. So he was actually schooling in Germany, and then he got the call that said, "It's your time." And so he was able to propose where he was able to be a chief in the Volta region, but then also a chief, and well, not chief, but also be living his life in Germany. So which means he comes to Ghana maybe 6 to 10 years, maybe every 10 or 6 years, just to make sure everything is going well in his town. But he's a weird chief in a way too, because he's also a musician in Germany. He had a song that was very popular like 40 years ago. So he's a very interesting person, but he's been able to do a lot within Germany and then Volta region as well. Historically, there's a lot of history within, we always say like, oh yes, the British colonized us, but within different regions, the Germans actually colonized the Volta region. So a lot of times there's a book called The Chieftaincy in Ghana, which talks about, actually that breaks down how the Germans really deconstructed, the Ghana's chieftaincy in the Volta region. So Germans did not like that their chiefs were called kings, or the individuals called kings or chiefs. They're like, no, I don't want anyone to have a higher power than a sheriff or a minister or whatever their positions were in Germany. So they actually took away Ghanaians' positions and hierarchies because they didn't want anyone to be over them. So that also changed how we also documented, the chieftaincy in the Volta region, because a lot of Germans actually have a lot of our archives. And even a lot of books, even within the Shanti region, are written by the Germans as well. And you can also see why a lot of times the German embassies also supported a lot of things in Ghana because of that as well. So we always think about the British colonizing Ghana, but we also have to think about the Germans colonizing Ghana as well. So in the front, we have the Sako flag that we're hanging. And so then we have like a better breakdown of the Sako flag as well. That is seen in the central evening. So the Sako flags are made by using the applique technique, where you're literally sewing fabric onto fabric to create your designs. So you're making different patterns. So in the central region, there's a Instagram page called Sako Flags, and so they actually do document all the different types of Sako flags that are there, even the shrine and the importance that they have, especially with the warriors. So then you have the traditional kitchen. So when we think about the traditional Ashanti families and homes, then you have the traditional kitchen as well. So you can see some of the similarities that your grandparents or your parents might still use. Yes. Even like the blender, not the blender, but the calabash, and then the blending tool to blend the different herbs and different herbs and vegetables. My mom still uses it. Utensil as well. That's actually real corn up there. Using that basket to actually kind of harvest a lot of the meats or preserve a lot of the food materials to make it harder or just to advertise it. But yeah, we just wanted to really showcase a similar version of what a traditional kitchen was back then, using the bamboo, using the red clay or mud to create the structure and form.
So how do you preserve the fact?
Say again? How do you preserve it? Well, this was kind of just made in the last 2 weeks, so we'll just see how it goes.
Because traditionally, mostly frequently they have to mold it so it's always fresh.
Yeah. But this one was just made like 3 weeks ago, so we'll see how long it lasts. But it's good that you told us this.
Because the more you use the traditional foods,
Yes.
it gets spice. You have to go.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. So then when we think about the different stages in our life, we think about the different rite of passage, the different moments that really make us an adult. So you have, the children, the naming ceremony, or even before then, you have the fertility dolls to hopefully to help you give birth or to have a baby. Then you have the traditional weddings, the naming ceremony. So like for me, my name is Marina. I'm from the Volta region, so my name means I'm a gift from God. Within my siblings as well, I'm out of 3, 2 other sisters. So each of my sisters have like a firstborn, a secondborn, etc. And so we felt that it was very important to really showcase that because literally even your name had that. You guys can introduce yourselves. Exactly. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so each name has a connection, even if it's to religion or to your culture or to your region. So we wanted to make sure that it's presented just because anyone that's coming in, they can say, okay, yeah, I know my parents named me because of this, or I was born on this day, or because I was the third born, the second born, whatever. So yes. So then we have the rite of passage. So when a male or a female becomes an adult, they have to go through, a rite of passage. So usually like in 16 or 18, you're going to high school, you're leaving high school, the United States, you're getting your driver's license, or to prom, or all those dances. I don't know what you guys do now. But within the rite of passage in different regions, especially like the Depot Festival or the Depot ceremony, they have the puberty rites, where when a girl is becoming a woman, some of the girls within that town who are coming of age will all go through like the 17-day ceremony. And so through that, they're learning the womanhood ceremony tradition. Even if it's finding a husband, what will be a husband, the right husband for them? What will be some of the things that they will do in their household? Even becoming a mother, even the companies in the community, how will they help out? So different things that your parents or your mom or your father will teach you in your own house. You're having to rite of passage ceremony for your own community. Yeah. So even from the Balta region, my mom and my aunts, they have a scar on their either the right or left arm. So it's 3 scars. So that just means they became their rite of passage during that time. Or sometimes you might see a lot of our parents having scars on their face as well. So there's different ways that they do rites of passage. A lot of times our parents now don't want us to go through that because it's a lot of painful things that sometimes a lot of times we don't even go through. But sometimes some parents still have their kids go through it, and that's on their decision. But there's just things for you to also think about when you're having your families as well to say, how do you preserve your history? Even if you're not having your kids do it, how do you talk about it with your kids as well? So then we have also the Shanti funerals and this thing about death as well. Even though death in some places might seem as sadness and sorrow, I feel like in Ghana it's a celebration. We're using black and red and even white cloth to showcase it as well. And even on CNN, we got famous because of the dancing funeral bearers and also the fantasy coffins with Pajo. So being able to use all these different elements of our tradition and how they've been able to be presented in the Western world with so much joy. So now people are like, okay, even I think the funeral bearers became an NFT because of those videos that came out. So yeah, that is my chart for that part. Hopefully I did a well job. But you guys should follow C. Henny on Instagram. But do you guys have any questions? Okay.
Well, for the queen lady, does she also have to lift up her feet?
Say it again?
For the queen lady,
Yes.
does she also have to lift up her feet just as
Yeah, so there's why there's a skin or some type of pillow underneath her foot.
both of them?